man don't know shit. I might not know shit, but I know enough. I might not know shit, but I know enough. You might call me dumb, but I have a lot of fun. I might not know shit, but I know. Episode 36, and tonight I'm going to have Mr. Patio Lantern. And we're going to hang out. I got a bottle of red wine here. I might crack and, just kind of chill out and see what's going on. I know he's into all kinds of projects right now. He's just released an album with Dragged In. I can't wait to hear all about this. I played the album in the car today. It was banging. He also fronts Brutal Youth. I mean, this guy's busy and energetic as fuck. So yeah, we're going to sit down and get right down to it. And don't forget, there's a PayPal link under the video, and that's for any tip, whether it's 50 cents, $1, $5, or whatever it is. You become the producer of the next episode. It's a good way to support the channel and get involved, and you'll be credited for it. And I want to thank you all for all your continued support, and I hope you're doing great, or at least surviving and holding in. We're not asking the world right now, right? All right, love you all. Let's get this started, all right? Don't forget to subscribe.
Hey, man.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Where are you at?
I'm just at home here in Toronto.
In Toronto. How are things over there?
You know, we got a big dumb tower and a big dumb premier.
Right? But what's the situation over there? Are like clubs or restaurants and stuff like that open?
No, nothing's open. They're supposed to be opening stuff up again like tomorrow, maybe.
Oh, really?
But tomorrow's April 1st, so it's probably a joke.
Yeah, probably, right? Yeah, how are you holding in there?
It's not been too bad. I've been doing a lot of music stuff. Like Brutal Youth have been recording a new record. I've been writing a lot with the guys in Dragged In. So, like keep them busy. But and I got a dog, so we've been going for walks in the park every single day.
Man, dogs are getting people through all this, right?
Dude, it's crazy how many dogs are just fucking getting adopted. Like it's madness. It was really hard to get a dog, which I guess is nice because they're all getting homes. But yeah, it's wild, man.
Nah, it really is. Hey, this morning I was driving to work and man, I just couldn't believe it. I listened to the entire Dragged In album.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking sweet sounding album, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah. It's the Jerry Farley, man, he did just an incredible job.
I really did. It brought me right back to like early 80s hardcore sound, but like modernized a bit,
Yeah, well, good. That everyone will be happy to hear that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. I wasn't sure, but it really did, because I remember I had I had on vinyl and cassette Black Flag's Who's Got the 10.5 live album, right? And I used to listen to that as a kid all the time. And I was listening to your album today, and I like your voice brought me right back to that.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, really.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, like that's the that's what we're shooting for, is like that sort of that space and time. Like those are all the bands that have influenced us. So everyone will be really excited to hear that you felt that way and that it brought you back there.
Man, I listened to that album so much as a kid too, but I'll probably listen to the album again tomorrow on the drive to work tomorrow morning. I was really blown away. Like I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it was going to sound like I've seen you play with Brutal Youth. I didn't know how similar it was going to be or not, but just man, I got into the album. I listened to it from top to bottom, which is rare. I do that. I'm usually bouncing songs, all over the place, but I listened to the entire album.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. Yeah. Dragged In and Brutal Youth, like, to my ear, and I'm pretty close to the situation, so like take that with a grain of salt, but like I feel like the two bands are pretty distinct in terms of like they don't sound much like one another. My voice only changes so much, right? Like, but I feel like the guys in Dragged In just like they write differently than Brutal Youth, so it's nice to have just like two different avenues to explore.
Absolutely. What was the writing process like for the Dragged In album? Because I was kind of wondering, I don't know, like if you do a lot of writing, like of them working on the music with the guys, or how does that work out?
Yeah, so with Brutal Youth, generally, like I write a lot of that stuff myself. Like I'll write a lot of the guitar riffs and stuff and bring it to the guys as a full song. And then like Kyle, our bass player, he also like writes his own stuff and brings it to us. And Greg, our guitarist, as well, like he'll write songs. So the process with Dragged In is very different. Brutal Youth, like everyone kind of writes separately, and then we bring it to one another, and we might tweak some stuff, change some things, but generally that's how it goes. With Dragged In, those guys will go to band practice and I won't show up for 7 or 8 weeks, and then I'll roll in and they'll have like 8 or 9 songs written that they'll, like, one guy will come in with some riffs, but they'll collectively kind of work it together, and then I'll come in and just shit on the whole thing and be like, the chorus sucks, I need verse to be twice as long here, and yeah, and then I'll write lyrics. So yeah, it's a very different process, but like, I don't know, it's cool because with Brutal Youth, sometimes it feels like there's a lot of it just feels like a heavy workload sometimes to just keep writing songs and not have the other guys contribute, which is like, that's how it's set up, and
yeah, it's always different, right? Every process is different.
But it's nice with Dragged In to just like, there's a lot of collaboration and a lot of like people aren't precious about shit, which I really appreciate, because like with Brutal Youth, like I can be really precious about like, oh no, it's got to only be played 4 times, like we can't have 6 reps of this particular riff or whatever, and like I can get my feelings hurt. Those guys, they're just like, they're super cool, they're super easygoing, and I really appreciate that side of it. That, I think that sums up Dragged In though in a lot of ways. It's like, it's very chill, very laid back. Brutal Youth is, there's like, we're all just on a razor's edge all the fucking time. There's just a lot of anxiety, and and like it works. Like we all balance one another out. We all love one another. It's just like Brutal Youth can feel very there's just like, we're always all on edge to like get the best possible thing, and like like protective of ideas, and all stemming from like, we want the best songs and we want to have the best live show, and yeah, Dragged In's just, everyone's super laid back, and it just works. Like it wouldn't work in Brutal Youth.
Yeah, but as a singer, that must be kind of fun, because like I can imagine like you're coming in, there's music in front of you, it's kind of like a rapper freestyling,
Sure.
I mean, you get to listen to something, get inspired by it, and then like I imagine words or melodies or how to attack the song is going through your head, because that's the kind of, it's rare that happens like that for a singer, where you can just get on board and, okay, oh, you have this in front of you. That must be pretty cool feeling.
Yeah, it's the best, man. It's just like, it's great going in there and like them just having something worked out, and just being able to like sort of play like that. And yeah, I'll sit down and like, they'll play it for me once or twice, and I'll be like, okay, I think I have an idea for like a hook or something, or like I have an idea for a melody, and I'll just kind of like bark gibberish, and we'll kind of go from there. And yeah, it's a really cool, just a different process, but it's very organic in terms of how the vocal melodies come together.
I can totally relate to that. I went to a band practice a couple of weeks ago, and Josh, our trombone player, had an acoustic. He was sitting down. He had this chord pattern going on. He was strumming away, and I just grabbed the microphone. I kind of did what you're describing. Did a bit of gibberish, threw in a couple of real words, but kind of got the vibe of the song. And then I always kind of record that moment, and then I take it home, and then sort it out, get like more words, sometimes add parts, and kind of like, I like building up from that way. It is one style of songwriting that I definitely enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's cool. Part of the reason for that too is like, Dragged In, we all live in the city, so getting together for practices is easy. Brutal Youth, we're scattered, so it's like 2-3 hours for guys to drive in order to get to a band practice. So like, there are some pragmatic reasons behind why Brutal Youth write the way they do too, right? But yeah, man, writing with Dragged In is just like, it's a lot of fun for exactly the reasons you just described. Like I just get to pick up a microphone and kind of play, and they're really great with giving me feedback too. Like if something's working, then they're like, yeah, keep going in that direction, and if it's not, then they'll say like, maybe try something else, and we will. And but we'll do the same thing, like just do like a little phone recording, or like we've got a little handhold recorder, and yeah, it's awesome, man. I love writing songs. Just however it happens, just writing music's cool. It's a lot of fun.
I'm really happy to hear that. Like, I think I mean, you could have great players, but somebody has to dream up a song, right? And that's a whole other art form almost, because like I talk
Absolutely.
to a lot of songwriters, the guys like that might be in a band, but like, if they don't bring a song, there's not really songs in the band,
Yeah.
Because that's something, I don't know if it happens too, but like, I mean, here you are, coming up with lyrics for 2 bands and songs and all this process. Do you ever panic, like, oh man, we can have a studio, but I don't have the songs right now? Does that ever happen to you?
Yes, I just went through that with this. So Brutal Youth are currently in the studio with Steve Reisen at Drive Studios. We're recording our 4th album, and we had just like tons of riffs, tons of songs written. Kyle and Greg were both firing on all cylinders. Like we had like, I don't know, 20, 25 songs written, and then I'm sitting here and then we whittled that down to 18. So we recorded 18 tunes, and they're like, okay, it's your turn. Write some. What do you got for lyrics? And I was like, man, I've got like 4 of these songs ready to go, but I don't have anything else. So I had 14 songs that I needed to write, and then we whittled that down to from 18 to 14. So we started with 25, we recorded 18, and then we chopped off another 4. So I had 4 songs written and 10 to do, and it was like, yeah, it was just like, I don't have anything. Like the well is empty, and they're just sort of like, well, we like this, it's ready to go. Like we just need you to do your thing. So over like the holidays, over the break, I went to I'm from Newfoundland, so I went back to Newfoundland for about a month, and my parents have just like a cabin in the woods up there, so I had to isolate for 2 weeks because of COVID. So I was up there by myself, just like writing and trying to come up with like, okay, like what is this song, trying to inform the lyrics through the music. Like, yeah, it was a lot of work. So
For sure.
yeah,
How do you handle the pressure of that? Like, some people pressure kind of backs them off. Other people, they, run towards the pressure. Like, how does that work for you?
I mean, I feel like I felt I was stressed, but what I kept coming back to with everyone, like Steve at Drive Studios was really cool, and he was like, look, when it's ready, it's ready, like take your time or whatever. A couple of the guys in the band were like kind of like, they were pushing, but not to be jerks. They were just like, they were applying a little bit of pressure. So I was stressed about it, because I was getting messages all the time like, what do you got today? What do you got today? What do you got today? Like, I don't know, man, I'm tearing my hair out here. For me, lyrics are really important, and I do my best to like write something that like in 3 or 4 years time I can look back at and like be proud of, and say like I put a lot, like I crafted those words with a lot of love, and not to say that other people don't do that. Like I don't mean to disparage anyone who's like writing lyrics, right? But for me, it's like, it's super important. When I listen to music, I'm always drawn to like, what is this person saying? So that was just like, I had to really just like take my time and like choose my words carefully. And I had a lot that I wanted to say, but I didn't really know how to say it. So that was the issue that I was coming up against, was like I know the feeling that I want to convey, or I know the thought that I want to convey. I just can't find the right combination of words, and then to put on top of that, like to make it, poetic, or to make it like rhyme. Like it's a lot. So yeah, but that was the process. Is like they applied some pressure, and yeah, I feel like maybe it helped. I don't know. There were times when I was annoyed, but yeah, man, that's
I
That's how
asked
this
because
one's come together.
I've come to realize actually that, deadlines are my friend.
Right.
Even if I pass the deadline, but still moving towards it, sometimes if I'm in limbo, I can start doing other things.
I would say that that's true of me as well. Like when we didn't have a timeline and when there was no imaginary sort of deadline, because like Stomp called us, Stomp Records, and they're like, "Hey, when's this going to be ready?" And I was like, "Fuck if I know." And they just sort of said like, "Okay, cool, that's fine." We were sort of expecting it, in March. It's February now. Is that reasonable? And I was like, yeah, I mean it's that'll be tough, but yeah, it's reasonable. And so they sort of said, okay, well, like that'll be a soft deadline. There's a pandemic going on right now. I don't know if you've heard about it, but if you guys got it over there in Toronto, because it's hit Quebec pretty hard. And I was like, oh yeah, no, there's like a pandemic thing happening here too. So they're like, okay, cool, well, um, try and get it out by March, but if it's later than that, we're not gonna be annoyed about it. And that helped a lot to just like have that conversation for two reasons. It set me at ease that I wasn't letting anybody down, but it also lit a fire because it's like, okay, well now there's an expectation, even if it's a soft one, to just like kick this into high gear. So yeah, I just spent a lot of time because like when I was away in Newfoundland, I got like, I don't know, probably 8 of them done, but I still had some songs kicking around that like needed lyrics. And I guess I was resting on my laurels a little bit too, because I was like, well, I got 8 done, you know. I only need to do 6 more. Everybody leave me alone.
But that's pretty cool though, being like, at least you were lucky to have a place where you could isolate yourself, to
Yeah,
focus in on that. That's pretty cool to have
yeah, it was really nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's just me and a couple of Grey Jays. Like that was it. There's nobody around.
that. Did you grow up in New Brunswick?
Newfoundland, yeah.
Newfoundland, I mean, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I was born in St. John's and then my parents moved to Labrador. So yeah, I grew up just like pretty much in a tree.
That's amazing, man. It's beautiful to take in, like, I find, okay, here's what I'm getting at. Actually, I grew up in a really small town and I find a lot of bands come from more remote areas and then come to the big city with it. And I think there's our reasons for that, like, just having space to play music for one thing, or out of boredom and lack of people, like people group up, but I definitely think I'd love to see some kind of statistic on that, because everybody I know, it's like they came from out of the cities, then moved to the cities.
Yeah, I think that's fair because like, and what you touched on there is true. Is like boredom, right? Like, so you pick up an instrument and like you just sort of entertain yourself. Look, there are a lot of great bands that are like city kids, but yeah, I feel like the city sort of calls artists in. Like it's, oh, hey, we've got this really great scene. So a lot of bands are people who have come from away and like come from different places to just sort of amalgamate in this one space so we can all be together and sort of feed one another's creativity. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's because like Brutal Youth specifically, like we're all from Newfoundland. We
Okay,
all moved up together
for the purpose of the band.
for the purpose of being in a band. Yeah.
I love it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, because like we were in St. John's in Newfoundland. Like that's almost as far east as you can go before you're swimming. And so the only way to get on and off the island is to take like a 10-hour ferry ride. And then you're just in Nova Scotia. So like there's still a long way to travel if you want to like hit the States or like even to play like in Montreal. Like you're driving for a good day and a half, 2 days to just like make that gap. So yeah, we all flew up here together to just like be a band and have that sort of accessibility of other places. Because in Newfoundland, like there are no major like places to play anyway. Like St. John's is the biggest city, and then it's an 8-hour drive to like Corner Brook if you want to play Corner Brook, and you might get lucky and book something in the middle. But like as far as like punk rock goes or like fringe music, there's nobody who really wants to hear that. It's not a particularly young area. Like most people who live in Newfoundland don't have the good fortune of being able to find work at home. So they move away, they move to bigger cities, they move to major centers just to like make ends meet. And then they move back after they've made their money and like buy a little piece of land. And so
That's the same story as small town kids, right? There's always that generation gap, like right after high school, and then they come back sometimes in the 30s, right? But so between 18 and 32, the only people there are, you know, might not even be doing that well, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So there's this cultural vacuum in terms of like youth culture and like rock and roll and like there's a really strong traditional music community, and there's a really like folk, not a problem. If you want to start a cover band and do like Mustang Sally and fucking, you know, Brown Eyed Girl and shit like that, like not a problem. You can tour like you can make a living as a musician in a cover band.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like writing like, you know, some kind of niche fringe music, like a ska band or a hardcore band or a punk band or like even like an indie rock band, like there's no audience for that.
Yeah, you outgrow the aquarium pretty fast, right?
Yeah, it's tough. And not to say that there aren't people who have been successful, because there are. It's just hard. So those bands are sort of even more like to be admired for what they were able to accomplish in a space that is it's really threatening to just like styles of music and like cultures that aren't the sort of homogeneous society that exists.
Right. That makes perfect sense. It really does. Was your family musical? Did you grow up with music around you?
Yeah, my mom's side of the family is especially musical. My dad's side, not so much. But yeah, like my mom's mom was an incredible piano player. Her father was an incredible trumpet player. And then like my uncle on my mother's side is a wicked guitar player, like really great. He's got an incredible voice. My mom was like, my mom can sing really well and plays the piano. And yeah, my brother and I both, I guess, inherited it from that side of the family. I mean, the other Newfoundland in general is like, it's a fairly musical place.
Well, that's the image I get. Absolutely. That's why I'm asking, because like in my mind, it's cold half the year. People are, you know, in a big style living room with a fire playing music. That's what I have in my head.
I mean, they're not far off. So I mean, it's still popular, but like what was really popular in Newfoundland was what they would call kitchen parties, right? So a lot of the homes in Newfoundland, the kitchen is the biggest room. That's where everyone would gather. And then most of the time in like old houses too, you'll find that there's a bathroom just off the kitchen. And the reason for that was because when company came over, like everyone was in the kitchen. So they just built bathrooms right off the kitchen for these parties that they would have. And everyone would just kind of like come over, bring some beers. And like everyone would just sit around the kitchen table. Someone would probably bring an accordion or like an ugly stick, which is this like stick that has like beer bottle caps on it, and you just beat it on the floor, and it's sort of
an ugly stick. That's what you call it.
Yeah, it's called the ugly stick. Yeah,
I love
it. And yeah, like a couple of guitars, and that was how people entertained themselves. So you're not far off. Like the kitchen parties in Newfoundland were definitely like, they were a big deal. And from that, I think that just like music became just such a rich part of the culture and the history there, that it just kind of got passed through everybody, just because like it was one of the only real ways to entertain yourself. My buddy John Creedon came to, he said he was down there, and like he noticed that just like random dudes in random bars. He said like, it's weird being in Newfoundland because everyone's a better musician than you, which I thought was funny because like John's fucking incredible. But he was like, I just felt really intimidated being there because it's just like everyone was better than me no matter what I was like. And he said it was just sort of like a humbling experience to see all of these people who just had this sort of like innate ability to be musical. But yeah, I think that's what it's from. It's just like there's nothing, there's very little to do there for a long time. Like less so now.
Did
But
you grow up in like bands through high school and stuff like that?
me, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I started playing music when I was I don't know, like 13 or 14. Um, and again, there was little to do. And one of the things that was good in the community that I grew up in anyway was like there was a lot of money filtered into youth programs, and we had like a center for youth that would like they had shows once a month, and it was like anyone who wanted to play was allowed to play.
Yeah.
So we were lucky that way. But again, like because there's nothing else to do, right? And like where I grew up in Walbush, the nearest neighboring community is an 8-hour ride on a dirt road, and there's literally fucking nothing in between those two communities. There's not like a little tiny town or like a gas station. It's just like fucking fuel up and drive 8 hours.
Fuck my life, man. Shit, yeah, those types of drives are they're brutal themselves.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
That's wicked. But were there enough musicians like in your gang growing up? Like I see, like growing up in smaller communities, sometimes I mean, there might be 8 musicians in the high school, or but
Right.
did you have a hard time like having people to play music with?
We had a lot of bands, I think, and I grew up in an area where like most people worked in the mine there.
Right.
Mine. And don't get me wrong, like there were kids who went without. There were people who were below the poverty line, but for the most part, people were pretty well off. So if a kid wanted to play guitar, or if you like, it wasn't generally an issue for like mom and dad to buy you a set of drums or buy you a guitar or whatever. And music was like a mandatory part of the curriculum in the high school that I went to, which was the only high school. So like everybody who went through played in band at least for a portion of time. So like everyone got touched by music.
That's great.
Yeah, it was cool. So there were a lot of bands, and there were a lot of like pretty good musicians. There were a lot of fucking dog shit musicians too, but it was just kind of cool because like it was one of the things that was like a pretty big pastime. And yeah, like if people weren't out ripping around on their snowmobiles, then they probably had a guitar.
I love it. That's so Canadian, ripping around on the snowmobiles. I fucking love it, man. Did you have one?
Yes, we had 3.
I love it, man. They're fun. Our driveway growing up where the studio was on the country farm, it was 1 kilometer long. So we had to take a snowmobile, and we had a little sled to bring like the groceries up because we couldn't keep the driveway open. It was too long, right? And it had 2 fields on the side, so wind would just like cover it completely. I literally had to cross country ski to go take the school bus to go to school. That's why I can relate so much to this. Yeah, man.
Okay, right. Yeah. That some of that squares, right? Like I had we had 3 snowmobiles. Like it was one of the modes of transportation. The further north you get in Labrador, like at a certain point, people just don't drive cars anymore. They get around on snowmobiles in the winter and ATVs in the summertime, like a quad or a trike.
They become a survival tool, right? At some point, like
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Like where I grew up, like people still had cars and trucks and stuff, but the further north you go, like at a certain point, like I said, it gets there. I grew up like right on the edge of town, so behind my house there was a snowmobile trail, just like a snowmobile trail that was owned and operated by the city or the province, and just nothing, just fucking wilderness.
I love it.
You used to get the groceries. I used to walk the dog. I taught him to chase, like he was a collie, so he had like a herding instinct. So I taught him to chase the skidoo, and just like that, it would be like, did you run the dog today? And like fucking typical like teenage kids, right? All we have to do is start a fucking snowmobile and take the dog for a rip for 20 minutes, and he's fine. And like still, it was my parents it was like pulling teeth to get us to go out and get on the skidoo and take the dog for a run. So
Which if you didn't have to do that as a chore, you'd jump on it and go anyway, right?
absolutely. Well, that's the thing, right? Like it became a chore to get on a snowmobile. It's like,
That's
oh, do
funny.
I have to? Well, like other kids like have it's just like take the dog for a walk. Like you got to get the leash and you got to go out and like you have to actually physically walk yourself for 30 minutes or an hour. Yeah, you have to do that. It's like I just had to put my thumb down, and like this was too much work for me because I was a shitty fucking 16-year-old.
Did you have like mechanical skills at all? Because don't those things break down all the time?
I mean, we didn't have that issue at all. So, and the answer to your question is no. I don't have any mechanical skills, but I'm sure that like if I had had to do that, then it might have come. Yeah, no, I didn't. My dad like figured it out though. He's yeah, he just like had a garage that he would fiddle around with that shit. So like stuff broke down and he would fix it. I had no interest.
I feel it, man. I'm the same way. But I asked that because like we just had one of those old skidoos. It wasn't going fast. I think it seemed like it was broken more than half the time, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the ones that we had too were like second hand, third hand, fourth hand, that kind of thing. Eventually my old man ponied up and like bought a brand new one. But the ones that we had for a while, like they were old. Like they were older than me.
Man, that's a wild story. Like at Brutal Youth, like the way you guys all came here. I mean, if a whole band just crosses that line, takes that leap of faith to go to the big city and say we're gonna go be a band over there. I mean, that must make you guys one tight bunch right there too, right? I mean, because everybody's all in at that point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like we all lived together for a while, and definitely, like I don't, not for a minute does it, like I never take for granted the fact that like I had 3 other people who were that interested and that dedicated and that just like excited to make music. Yeah, and it's cool because like, generally speaking, when you're in a band with people, you become pretty tight, you become sort of like family. And
Absolutely.
for me, like doing that, making music, writing records, playing shows, like there's nothing I would rather be doing. So you get to do your favorite thing with your favorite people. And I just like every time we get on stage, just like I get to like there are people who are willing to witness me having the best time of my life with the people that I love.
It really shows. The last time I saw you play, I think was at Pooza, at Catacombs, if I'm not mistaken, because those Pooza weekends are a little blurry in my head,
For sure.
But you, my man, have one hell of an energy on stage, and it shows that you love it. I mean, like seriously, and I think you jump higher than anybody I fucking know. How the hell do you jump like that all the time?
I just got very powerful legs, came in.
There you go. It'll be on the tombstone. He had very powerful legs.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. I really like those shows, man. Catacombs, I don't think it's going to be around. I don't know.
Yeah, Catacombs is just like I loved that place. It was really just had like a great layout, great vibe. Never had a problem with like any of the staff or anything. Nothing weird ever happened with the patrons. Like it was just I was only ever there for like Pooza shows for the most part, but like it always just felt like it was touched with magic, just to, like have no issues. I'm sure there were, but I never had to experience them. I never witnessed them.
Yeah, it never showed from the bar people, like to the people going there. That's for sure.
Yeah. Those
are my favorite. Like those types of cool mid-sized venues in all the cities. Like not even just in Canada, in every fucking city of the world. That's where I feel at home, is in those types of places, right? But I also think those types of places are the most at risk right now. It's kind of like that mid-sized, cool, well done rock and roll places. I think they are at risk all over there, shutting down left, right.
Yeah, I don't like Toronto. The number of venues that we've lost through this pandemic, it's painful to look at those numbers. We just lost so many places shut down. And then there was like a mass exodus too. A lot of people left.
Yeah.
It's been hard.
A lot of people have been leaving the city. I did.
Yeah.
But, you know, like so many people are just like during the pandemic, just being in the city is something else, you know what I mean, right now. But
Yeah.
you know,
Look, the only reason for me to be here was to be immersed in the sort of culture that existed.
yeah,
That you can't do that anymore. So like I'm here right now because I'm writing a record and I'm doing all of that stuff. But the longer this thing goes on, the longer I'm just like, why am I here paying these ridiculous rent prices in a place that like fucking the air is cleared up now because everything's shut down. But like generally it's like you've got this dirty air, there's like smog covering the city. There's nothing green for miles. Like you got a big, stupid, polluted lake at the bottom. I just like I don't have a lot of love for uh I'm a I mean I didn't grow up in a big city, so it's tough, right?
I understand what you're saying, and don't feel guilty about it because like I
I
understand
don't
people
want
are
to disparage
protective
the city
about.
of Toronto and the people who love it because there are people who love it and rightfully so. It has a lot to offer. There's a lot to love. Uh, some of the things that people love about it are the things that I hate about it.
Right.
You know, like like it's nice that you can be you can be alone in a crowd here. Um, coming from a place like Newfoundland where like I brought my girlfriend down and we were just like walking around and showing around. And, you know, Skipper comes over and just says like, "Hey man, how you doing? How's everything today?" And we just had a conversation. And she went, "Who's that?" And I said, "I don't know." And then we were, you know, walking along and somebody else came over and exact same thing. She's like, "Who's that?" I was like, "I don't know." She's like, "Does everybody just do that here? Like, do you all just talk to one another?" Like, yeah. And then like being in Toronto, it's just like cold shoulders and like 1,000-yard stares.
I was
Uh,
explaining to my friend in Ottawa just the difference between Ottawa and Montreal. Like on a bus ride, people in
yeah,
Montreal do not talk. In Ottawa, somebody's reading the paper and they're like, "Hey, did you see this?"
yeah,
You know. Hey, I got a question for you.
yeah,
You said a line while you were talking, being alone in the crowd. All right, that was
yeah.
something that do you have a song called that?
No,
So are you gonna write that or am I? I love that.
wasn't that the title of a Catch 22 record? It
I've never
was.
heard of them.
It was the title of their second record.
Was it
But
really?
feel free. Yeah.
I had no idea for the record.
Um, yeah. No, feel free. That's you can take it.
Yeah, man. Hey, you know how you're
It's a
saying you
good
got the soft
colloquialism.
deadline? Well, I just got the hard deadline. We hit the studio on the 18th. I still
There you go.
that's 2.5 weeks ago. I still got a couple of songs to write here.
Well, like feel free to take that one if
I thank
if
you
it.
very much, sir. Man, so you play guitar as well. We see guitars behind you, and you're writing
I
songs.
do.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure, like, because I see you really in like the only way I've ever met you is as a front man. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But like, so you play a lot. Like, did you ever play guitar in bands as well?
Yeah. So I cut my teeth as like a front man, and then my brother is really great. He's a fantastic guitarist, and I was like, I want to do that too. So I started playing guitar in like a couple of local bands growing up. And then Kyle, who plays bass in Brutal Youth, and I were in a band together before Brutal Youth, where I played guitar and sang. Um, and then I started writing the Brutal Youth songs as just like a side project. I had moved to BC and was away from like my crew in Newfoundland. I was like, I got to write some music. So I started writing this stuff that wound up being Brutal Youth's first album. And I was playing it and I got to a place where I was like, I can't sing and play this at the same time. Like the other stuff that we were doing with Class 4 Kids was like sort of like street punky, so it was just rock and roll and like pretty easy. This stuff I was just like, this is too fast. And the phrasing of the lyrics that I had written was like there was just too much there was too much clash going on in my brain.
Absolutely.
So like I probably could have gotten there, but it wasn't easy. So I was like, fuck it. And then I got back and like Greg, who plays guitar in Brutal Youth, was like, I really want to do this with you. I was like, yeah, cool, sure. He's a fantastic guitarist, so I was really stoked that he wanted to do it. And I was like, I'm not going to play guitar. And he's like, really, you're not? And I was like, no, this is too hard. And it also gives me a chance to just like let loose and be wild on stage, right?
And you
So
do. And you do, my man. I love that. You know, I mean, I fucking love it. Do you find I understand, like, you know, sometimes things are too hard to play and sing at the same time. That happens to me all the time. But even let's say it's a simple part in singing, I find I sing completely different when I'm not playing guitar, for better or worse, depending in which situation.
yeah, no, I don't disagree. You can just like you're not thinking about two things at the same time, right? Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
or three things, I guess, because you've got a strumming hand and then a hand that's, you know, forming your chord shapes or whatever.
And the
And then if you're
remembering the words hand.
right, yeah, it's a lot of stuff to do all at one time. So I find with when you're playing and singing, like you have to form a lot of muscle memory. Like you have to just like drill it.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. It's so true.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, if I had drilled it enough, I probably could have been able to play Brutal Youth songs and sing them at the same time. But like, yeah, part of it was tough, and then the other part of it was like I want a space to just like be able to just let loose and, you know, jump around and yeah, be a front person who doesn't have to worry about a guitar.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking with Matt Smasher about this once. He said, like, because we both play guitar and sing at the same time, and I always said, man, to like just do one or the other and actually have a front man in the band. That's something like a lot of band. Yeah, I don't know what the percentage is or whatever, but it's definitely a plus. You know what I mean? Like to have a front man that's not playing an instrument, it definitely
For
is a
sure.
plus for the band.
Yeah. You're just able to like interact with people a little more, and you're able to like I find I'm able to give the audience a little more of my attention because I'm not focused on like, you know, hitting an E chord or whatever. So
Yeah.
I can, and I got that freedom of mobility too, right? Like I can get out and get in the crowd and get in people's faces and all of the things that come with not having a big block of wood strapped to your chest.
Do you use like wireless microphones, or you with the wire?
There's something that I like about having a wired microphone.
I'm so
I've
with
had a
you.
lot of people who are like, "Why don't you just get a wireless microphone?" Like, I don't know. It feels weird. It feels like I can't, you know, I can't like spin it around and accidentally knock somebody in the head or like
Half the fun.
wrap it around myself. It feels less fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know about you, but like I always have this like worry about seeming pretentious. So anything that could make me seem pretentious kind of scares me, and then I'm uncomfortable with it. And for some
Sure.
reason, the wireless microphones kind of lead me in that direction, you know?
It definitely brings out the punk rock shame and guilt, doesn't it?
Yeah, man, absolutely. You
Yeah.
know, and you know, we can say that as punk rock to resist that as well if you want. But you know what? I just like the chord at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I have that too, that sort of like innate sense that like there's something pretentious about this, which is weird, but like I have that same feeling, right?
You know what?
Um,
I realize that's the first time I think I've ever mentioned that. It's something that I've had in my head at different times, but I
yeah,
don't. I just realized I don't think I ever mentioned that to anybody before, and it's cool to
there's
see that you understand that.
I do because there's a lot of weird shit that gets drilled into us as like dudes in punk bands or like ska bands or like, you know, offshoots of that
Mhm.
specific genre. But, like you got there's along with the like you've got to look a certain way, act a certain way, think a certain way, all that sort of stuff that's tied up in it. There's also the like you can't sell your album for more than $10. You can't sell your t-shirts for more than $10. Like there's this real sense of like shame and guilt
And you can't sing about
basically
sex.
that I've never encountered, but I'll take your word for it. I haven't written any songs about sex, so I wouldn't know.
There you go. Hey,
But
here's a vocal question for you. Check this out. Okay,
yeah,
here you are. You do tours. You're using your voice in its maximum form or capacity.
yeah.
Do you ever have problems like on the road if you're
Do I
doing
lose my voice?
20 shows in a row?
Yes. Um, Generally speaking, I was talking to my buddy Glenn, who used to sing in a band called Attention, and I think he said like first show you always like go too hard. Second show you bring it back a little bit, but you've done the damage from the first night. Third show, you basically lost your voice. The fourth show, it's like you're riding it out a little bit, and then by the fifth show, you've like built up enough of a callus and figured out how much is too much, like how hard is too hard. And then like all the shows after that, your voice is where it needs to be.
That's very well described. Like that's very, because like I also think that driving between shows has an effect on people's voices.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to do warm-ups and stuff to try and figure that out. But like I find for me, generally Brutal Youth go like a fairly long amount of time between shows. So if we're on a tour, great. But otherwise, there's a lot of space between when we're playing and when we're not. And so I lose the sort of muscle memory of like how hard is too hard, and I'll just blow it out, and then I'll suffer if there's a second night. By like night 4, I'm usually pretty good if there's a fourth night.
But does Brutal Youth, sorry, I just like, you know, I was talking like, you know, 10, 20 shows type thing. But do you guys tour a lot?
No, not really. I mean, we tour, but I don't know. I don't know what a lot is, but I wouldn't say it's as much as it should be, as much as it could be. That's the best answer I have. And then Dragged In, like we do as much as we can, but everybody in that band has like a career, so
Right.
tough. It's tough with those dudes. But that being said, like everybody in Dragged In is very eager to play, and
But doesn't everybody in Dragged In also have a lot of experience? Like it seems to me, I like what Gabe sent me too. It's like every guy was in a fucking other band that kicks ass as well.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone in Dragged In, like it's a very, I don't know if seasoned or grizzled would be the right adjective, but for
I
sure.
like grizzled.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
What's the plan? Like, what are you guys going to do with the record? Like, well, I mean, the pandemic.
We were supposed to tour with Sick of It All and Agnostic Front. And those shows got fucking knocked down because of this whole bullshit pandemic, which like
I am so incredibly sad to hear that, because that for you guys
devastating.
Yeah,
it was devastating. We were super excited, and like both of those guys, both of those bands, their records were worked on by the same person who did ours. So like
that's great.
was so we were just like, I don't know, it made sense, and it was really exciting because both of those bands fucking rule. So we were really looking forward to it, and then everything that happened, and you know, rightfully so, all the shows got shut down. It sucked, but it was necessary, and they were rescheduled, and now they've been, I don't know if they're postponed or just outright canceled at this point, but
look, I really truly, with every fucking ounce of my body, hope that it does get rescheduled, man, because you deserve it, because you pour everything into your show. That's what impressed me about you. I remember the first time I saw you, I was with Frankie, my bass player, and we were right on the side of the stage. I'm like, man, he's got it. You know, like I remember that. Man. And then we drank a bunch of Jägermeister.
Cool.
Yeah, but like, okay, so you definitely want to tour with the album though, and that's fucking cool, you know. That tour was supposed to be in the States, wasn't it?
We just had the Canadian dates, but like they were going through the States as well. Our hope was that we would be so impressive and my legs would be so firm that they would just be like, well, we can't not take this set of legs on tour with us.
Of course. And that the border would greet you with open arms and say, it's no problem to be a rocker and cross the border into the United States right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a hard time at the border, eh? A real hard time. Somebody had an empty fucking baggie in a pocket or something like that. Some asshole singer in the band. Because, and dude, it's so funny. Here's the real story on this. Like I changed jackets like right before jumping in the van, all right? And I forgot at the last show that a kid wanted me to smoke his homegrown weed. He was really proud of it. And I had a little zipper pocket here and didn't have a bag for it. So somebody handed him a baggie, which was an empty cocaine baggie. And he put that, when I say 1/8 of a gram, a pinch of weed in this empty baggie, and he put it in my pocket, his little zipper pocket. And that's Jen Kuba from Philadelphia. I love that girl. Anyway,
Hi, Jen.
yeah, right. Hi, Jen. It's so funny that this guy O'Connell at the border of USA. Everybody should avoid this guy. Even his partners look at him crooked, and he's not the favorite guy in the force. Okay. He pulls out this 1/10 or 1/9 pinch of weed that I didn't mean to be there, and I said, "Look, man, I'm an adult. I would never have put that there in the first." He takes the baggie and he looks at me 1 inch from my nose, almost drooling. "Are you trying to kill me with your fentanyl?" I'm like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And at first, actually, I forgot. At first, he pulls it. "What is this?" I look over and man to man, adult to adult, not kid to authority figure. I look at him. It looks like weed, man. Like, what, you don't recognize it? I think that just set him off, But man, wow. They held me in a room for hours, and we're talking, but I gotta thank his partner. I shouldn't say this, but he goes to test the empty bag with 1/8, and he drops it in the solution. He goes, "Whoops, the evidence just got flooded." I said, "Thank you." He goes, "Don't you ever thank me, just get out of here." I'm like, all right. So we got to write a song called O'Connell, man. That guy, he's the type of guy in high school. He had no friends at all. I don't even think his mama likes him.
There you go. Yeah, O'Connell, you're an asshole. That's your chorus.
Fucking straight up. Either that or he got divorced 3 times in a row.
And sometimes there are just people out there who just they're on a power trip, and they need to just soak up any kind of authority that they can get. We had an interesting border story too, not Brutal Youth, but a band that I was in before Brutal Youth. So everyone falls asleep because we've been driving a long time. Our drummer is driving, and he nudges me. He's like, "Patty, wake up. I took a wrong turn." I was like, "Okay, what's going on?" He's like, "We're on our way to the United States." I was like, "Well, turn around, man. We're not going to the United States. We don't have visas. We're not cleared. Fucking turn around right now. This is not the way to go." And there was no way to turn around. So we roll up to the border, and the guy, looks out the window. He's like, "Okay, what's going on?" And I just leaned out, and I was just honest with him. I was like, "Look, we're in a band. We're on tour. We have no dates in the United States. We're not supposed to be here. Our idiot drummer just he's fell asleep at the wheel or something. And he came across this bridge to the United States instead of staying on the road to Canada."
Yeah, that happens.
And now we're here. Yeah, and I was like, "And now we're here." And he said to me, he was like, "That's not the first time we've heard that story. And also, there's a garage over there. Why don't you pull your van in?" And they took the whole fucking thing apart. And they wound up finding.
They have no respect for border police are the worst police in the fucking. Dude, they threw our guitars out the back of our van, but they also said that they put a drug dog in the van, and he sat in the middle. And it says when they do that, it's because the dog is confused because he's surrounded.
Yeah. Oh, that's great, man. We had a similar incident because when that happened, they pulled us over. They went through everything, and they found someone had a roach in their pack of cigarettes, and basically one of the border guards came over, and he was like, "Listen, we found the roach." And I was like, "I don't know what you're fucking talking about, but I'm sure that I believe you." And he basically said, "We threw it away. We're gonna let you turn around because it seems like you're being honest with us and that you didn't mean to be here, but you're lucky that you got this shift and not the B crew, because they would have just fucking thrown all of you in prison immediately." So I guess O'Connell's on that team. I don't know.
Yeah, man. The whole border thing, it's so it's easier to tour Europe than the United States, our biggest ally and neighbor.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely
insane.
And what's fucking crazy is it's not that difficult for American bands to get into Canada. Yeah. And they lobby really hard for it, and they and that shit pisses me off because you've got the American Musicians Union that do a lot to get their artists through here.
Absolutely.
And do fuck all aside from take some goddamn money for your dues collection And,
See, I
and
always thought that, am I crazy to think, like, I always thought it would be good for both sides and musicians in general, is if two unions talk together, whatever, it said, look, no matter what the final decision is, it has to be heard. You know
there
what I
are
mean?
two problems as far as I see it. The first is we have a lot less people here. Like the population in Canada is what like fucking
Yeah.
it's fractional compared. So in the first place, we're watering down their market and taking jobs, I guess. In the
But at the
second
same time,
place,
doesn't like mathematically, we have less people and less bands as well, though.
that
Like
gets me to my second
it
point,
evens
though.
out, eh?
That gets me to my second point. Any Canadian that has managed to break into the United States has fucking blown up in a way that everyone just doesn't expect.
That's true. That, like, honestly, you come back, like, it's fucked up. We signed a huge deal with, well, for me it was a huge deal anyway, but with Covert Booking, that books all the bands that we like over in the States, and they were going to start booking us. Pandemic hit, we did 2 shows, man. 2 fucking shows. So I don't know if that, what's going to happen after the pandemic, but we had to come home, and that's why I understand your heartbreak as well.
Yeah. I don't know, like Canadian artists go to America, and like you've got dudes like Norm Macdonald, like fucking like Jim Carrey, Celine Dion, Drake,
Hey, they can keep
Justin
her.
Bieber, and like Canadians just blow up down there, so they're afraid of us. We've just got too much talent.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Speaking of talent, because I can only record for an hour at a time on this, okay? And we're almost there. So to end this off, what I've been ending every episode with lately is I want to know 3 albums in your mind that everybody should listen to at least once, and 1 song guilty pleasure. And the reason we do this is because we are musicians sharing music.
Great. Okay. First album that everyone should listen to is Rancid's 2000 self-titled. In my opinion, it's their best record, and it was what made me want to write Brutal Youth songs. The Clash has given them enough rope.
I think almost everybody on the podcast has mentioned The Clash as one of the 3, which I find absolutely incredible, because Joe Strummer was my musical, guy.
You're the only band that matters.
Right, exactly. Thank you. I love you.
Yeah. And third album. We're gonna run out of time before I get there, man. I can't. There's nothing that comes to mind as like. There's nothing, and then there's too many at the same time.
Well, how about I help you out? Can I name your third?
Our third?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
LP1, Dragged In. It's fucking wicked. I listened to the entire album this morning. And morning, it's hardcore. It sounds good. Smooth on the edges, so it doesn't hurt your ears, but fucking brutal at the same time. I fucking love it, bro. I'm going to listen to it tomorrow morning as well. Way to go.
Oh,
congratulations on New Baby. Now you're all alone and you're driving, and a song comes on. Nobody's around, but if they all knew that you were grooving to this song, they wouldn't believe it. What song is it?
Well, I don't have any shame, and so I don't feel guilty about any of the music that I listen to. But I've been really digging on Carly Rae Jepsen lately. That's something that people would be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
I will have to check it out because I don't know who it is.
She wrote that song "Call Me Maybe." I'm sure you've heard it. It was in every mall across everywhere.
Then she should call me Mary. Or maybe, or May something. Brother, it was real fucking blessed. I can't believe it's been an hour already.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, man. We'll do it again. And listen, we'll see each other on this fucking trail that we ride one day soon. You stay cool, brother, all right?
You too.
Congrats
Good talking
on the
to you.
new album.
Thank you.
Love you.
Oh, before we go, everyone check out Dragged In on Bandcamp, and check out cursedblessingsrecords.com. That's where you can pick up everything. They've got a slew of great albums coming out. Choices Made, some stuff from the guys in Good Riddance. I think Russ is doing like a solo EP, and also Seized Up, which has Chuck from Good Riddance, and just like a billion other great bands.
I love it. And if you skip over Brutal Youth, we'll get you.
That's right. Thanks, man. Good talking to you.
All right, peace out.
Cheers.
Boom!
Okay, man, don't know shit. I might not know shit, but I know enough. I might not know shit, but I know enough. You might